In this room and across New Mexico wants the best at every level for our state. We are looking for the person who is best qualified to serve as New Mexico Attorney General. We have 5 questions for you that will require short, succinct answers. Remember that you have 1.5 minutes per question. You'll be signaled when you have 15 seconds left. There's an exception to that. Number 4 is the lightning round, and you've got 30 seconds on those, and we'll go through them one at a time. First question. What education or experience has prepared you to be New Mexico Attorney General?
Well, as you all know, New Mexico's Attorney General is really the top cop of the state. I was a prosecutor for about 25 years, started in 1984 in Albuquerque, went to Las Cruces in 1992. I continued there. I was the Chief Deputy District Attorney in that district for 14 years. I've handled every kind of criminal case there is. I've handled some of the worst you've probably heard of, Baby Brianna, the murder of Carly Martinez, the murder of Linda Daniels in Albuquerque. I know what it takes to be the top cop in the state. That also includes being in charge of the Law Enforcement Academy. And we all know that we need to reach out and make sure that our police forces are doing what needs to be done in the state, and that they are getting the training they need, but also the support they need. There's a lot of pressure on these police departments, and we need to make sure that we have someone in there that understands what it is they're doing, that's been in law enforcement all their life, and that can help them move forward and restore the confidence that the public should have and will again have when I'm Attorney General in our police department and in our criminal justice system.
Thank you. If elected, what would be your #1 priority as Attorney General and why?
It's tough to pick a priority because there's so many things that need to be done there. But my priority right from the get-go would be to go after public corruption. We've had an awful lot of dabbling around in it. We've had the prior Secretary of State charged, and it's been dismissed by the court. We had the Housing Authority charged, and then it was dismissed because 7 years passed, as if anybody couldn't figure out that after 7 years people weren't going to really remember what happened. There are ways to handle that, and it was poorly handled. One of the things that I get concerned about with that is that when it's a public corruption case, there needs to be swift but thorough investigation and swift but thorough response. That means when there's delaying tactics by the defense, and delay only benefits the defense attorneys, truly, then you have to come up with tactics to deal with that. Defendants have criminal constitutional rights, and so a lot of reasons that's why cases get delayed. But there are tactics that a prosecutor, and a skilled prosecutor, and somebody's been doing it as long as I have, knows how to get a case either to go to court or to protect that information that's being lost because it's taking so long. I think that it's the easy way out to say, well, I charged them, but there was a technicality. The problem with that is that you never have an answer about what really happened, did something go wrong, and those people, unfortunately, are left with that hanging over their head with no resolution.
Thank you. A state's Attorney General often sets the tone for how corruption is viewed. For example, if an AG fails to file or prosecute a case in a timely manner, it can be dismissed and can give the impression that the state is corrupt or does not care about corruption. Do you agree or disagree with this statement, and why?
Well, I pretty clearly disagree with it. Agree with that. I obviously agree with that. And I'll tell you that one of the other things that needs to happen in order to make sure that there isn't a perception of public corruption is you need to make sure that all agencies are doing what they're supposed to be doing. That means that keeping track of the monies, keeping track of all of those things, it's critical because when people slip through the cracks and aren't held to the standards that we elected them to be held to, or they've been appointed to be secretary of this, or to a regulatory commission, or any of those things, if they're not doing what the law requires them to do, that makes people suspicious. And then you start to worry. And even if they aren't doing anything wrong, we start to lose the confidence in those agencies or in those groups or in those elected officials. So we have to make sure that as Attorney General in particular, as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer, that we're making sure that all levels of government are doing what they're supposed to do for the people, because that's really who it's about.
Thank you. Now the lightning round. Sometimes politicians take a pass rather than taking a stand on controversial issues because they fear repercussions at the ballot box. Realizing that the AG's job is enforcement of laws, not making them, please use 30 seconds or less and tell us your position on the following issues. Number 1, legalizing marijuana.
I am opposed to legalizing any kind of controlled substance at this point, but I will tell you one of the things that we have an advantage in this state about is we can watch our sister state, Colorado, and we can see what goes wrong there. And we've already seen that there are things that they didn't anticipate were going to be a problem that have been a problem. So we should, I don't believe that any controlled substance should be legalized, but I do believe that we have a golden opportunity in this state to prove that that is in fact the best course of action by watching Colorado.
Thank you. Driver's licenses for illegal immigrants.
That has caused so many problems, and there are so many rumors about what's going on with that, but I've seen it as a prosecutor, the problems that can be caused because people have driver's licenses that don't identify them as not citizens of our country. We've had people who have been voting, we had some big problems in Summer Park down there because of that, and we just can't. If we need to give them some kind of identification, which seems to be the argument, then we can give them something that looks different from our driver's licenses, because we don't want to attract the criminal element that's been coming to our state because they know that they can help people get licenses.
Thank you. Voter ID and same-day voter registration.
Voter ID, I think, is just critical. You can't get on a plane, you can't register for school, I can't use my credit card without somebody asking for my ID. So I don't know why when we exercise our most important constitutional right, we shouldn't be required to identify ourselves. As far as same-day registration, I think that we are just asking for big trouble. There is no reason, if we want to make it closer to time, I might look into that. But the same-day registration, we're asking for voter fraud.
Thank you. Enforcing federal immigration laws.
It's a delicate subject because you can't really enforce federal immigration laws because the feds are telling us that we can't. But here's what I think. I think it is a tragedy that our local police officers can't inquire of the person they're dealing with who they really are. And that is this huge safety issue for them. So I think that not just enforcing the federal immigration laws, but making sure that law enforcement is safe and that you're safe out on the streets by knowing who it is that's in your community. And if you're not allowed to ask who they are, you're never going to know who they are.
The use of cost-effective energy for electricity production.
The use of cost, that's still in the lightning round?
Yes.
Okay, we're still in the lightning round. All right, absolutely, we need to come up with some cost-effective methods, but I'll tell you that one of the people that I've talked to most recently is actually the Attorney General of West Virginia, where coal is everything. I think we need to be cost-effective. We need to do as much as we can to keep our environment clean. But what I've learned over the years, if you really go around and see what these agencies are doing, they are the ones that are probably the most concerned about the bounty of the world, because that's where they get their living from. So they're the ones that want to protect it, not abuse it.
Thank you. Last one in the lightning round, increased distributions from the permanent fund.
Absolutely not. The permanent fund is called the permanent fund for a reason. And what always happens is, first thing you hear is, well, it's just $10,000 this year, or it's just $50,000 this year. Well, what are we going to do about funding that same event next year? Well, then it's going to be another $60,000 out of the permanent fund, and it just keeps going and going and going. We are funding things sufficiently in the state without raiding that permanent fund, and even a little bit out of that, I believe, is a raid, and I'm absolutely opposed to it.
Thank you. The last question, minute and a half. Please tell the hiring committee why you believe you are the best candidate for the position of New Mexico Attorney General.
Well, I think anybody that's hiring somebody to do a job wants to look for the candidate with the most experience. When you're hiring somebody to do a job called Attorney General, you want to have somebody who's been an attorney. Somebody who's demonstrated leadership in that area, who's been doing this for years. I was a judge for 2 years as well. I mean, I know how to practice law. These are critical times for us. It is time for New Mexico to stand up and fight back and say, we're New Mexicans and we're not going to take it anymore. And you can't do that without somebody who knows how to file a lawsuit, who knows how to stand up in court and say, this is what I want. You know, for example, we should be in the prairie chicken lawsuit. And we're not, because I believe we have a current Attorney General, who's not my opponent, who doesn't want to take a stand. And I want to stand up for you, for what is best for New Mexico, and we can't let the federal government dictate to us what is best for us. We need to say, you know, this might not be the right thing for Georgia, but it's the right thing for New Mexico. And that's what I want to do, and that's the experience I bring to this, as a full-time prosecutor for 25 years, I know how to do all of that. Thank you.
Thank you.